Japanese CEO forces black waitress to crawl like a dog. Next day, she destroyed his $500 million company. At Aoki's Signature Dining, the most exclusive restaurant in downtown Los Angeles, 34-year-old Anya Washington adjusted her crisp white apron for what she believed would be just another shift. The morning sun streamed through tall windows, casting golden light across onyx floors that cost more than most people's homes. She'd taken this job 3 weeks ago, desperate to support her sick mother's medical treatments after losing her corporate position. Anya had once worn $1,000 suits to board meetings, but life has a way of humbling even the most successful among us. As she polished wine glasses that gleamed like crystal tears, she had no idea that in less than 24 hours she'd be sitting across from reporters, holding documents that would bring down one of America's most powerful restaurant empires. Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest truths. The lunch rush at Aoki's was always intense, but Anya had found her rhythm among the chaos. She moved gracefully between tables, her warm smile making even the most demanding customers feel welcome. The restaurant attracted Los Angeles' elite, politicians, celebrities, and business moguls who expected perfection with every meal. Anya delivered it without complaint, drawing on years of customer service skills she developed in her previous career. Table 12 needs their wine selection, called Denise, the head waitress, who'd become Anya's only friend in this place. And be careful, that's Mr. Tanaka's table. Kenji Tanaka, even his name carried weight in the dining room. At 45, he owned 12 fine dining establishments across 2 states, and his piercing black eye seemed to calculate the worth of everyone around him. Anya had noticed how the other staff members tensed whenever he appeared, their laughter dying mid-sentence as he swept through like a winter storm. She approached table 12 with confidence, her notepad ready. "Good afternoon, Mr. Tanaka. I'm Anya, and I'll be helping you with your wine selection today." Tanaka barely glanced up from his phone. His dining companion, a nervous-looking man in an expensive suit, shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't order yet," Tanaka said flatly. "And I specifically requested Sarah for this table. Sarah called in sick today, sir. But I'd be happy to. Did I ask for your life story?" Tanaka's voice cut through the ambient chatter. Other diners began to notice, their conversations quieting. "Get Sarah. I don't care if she's on her deathbed." Anya maintained her composure, though her heart quickened. "Sir, I'm fully trained on our wine list. I've been working here for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Tanaka laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I've been building this company for 15 years. I don't need some amateur ruining a business lunch worth more than your annual salary." The dining room fell silent. Anya felt dozens of eyes on her, some sympathetic, others curious. Her cheeks burned, but she kept her voice steady. "Of course, Mr. Tanaka. Let me get the manager." As she turned to leave, Tanaka's voice followed her. "And next time, don't waste my time with your sob stories. This isn't a charity." In the kitchen, Anya's hands trembled slightly as she found Marcus, the floor manager. He listened with growing discomfort, his eyes darting toward the dining room where Tanaka's laughter had resumed. "Look, Anya," Marcus said quietly. "I know it's not fair, but Tanaka owns 30% of this restaurant. We can't afford to upset him. Just try to stay out of his way today." Anya nodded, understanding the unspoken reality of her position. She'd faced difficult customers before, but something about Tanaka's casual cruelty felt different, more dangerous. As she watched through the kitchen's porthole window, she saw him gesturing dismissively, while his lunch companion nodded frantically, clearly intimidated. She didn't know that Tanaka's bad day was just beginning, or that his next encounter with her would cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Sometimes the most powerful people are the ones with the furthest to fall. The afternoon brought new challenges as Anya juggled extra tables to cover for Sarah's absence. She moved efficiently through the dining room, her professional smile never wavering despite the earlier incident. Regular customers complimented her service, and she began to feel like she was proving herself worthy of this job she so desperately needed. That fragile confidence shattered at 3:47 p.m. Tanaka sat alone at table 8, studying papers spread across the white tablecloth. Anya approached cautiously, carrying a fresh pot of coffee. "Would you like a refill?" Mr. Tanaka?" He looked up, and something dark flickered in his eyes. "Are you still here?" "Yes, sir." Working until closing tonight, Tanaka leaned back in his chair, studying her like a predator sizing up prey. "You know, I've been thinking about our earlier conversation, about your 3 weeks of experience." Anya's grip tightened on the coffee pot. "Sir, my grandmother started as a waitress during the Depression. She used to tell me stories about earning respect in this business." His voice carried a nostalgic tone that somehow made her more nervous. "She said you had to prove yourself worthy of serving important people." Other diners sensed the tension and began watching discreetly. Anya felt exposed under their collective gaze. "I understand, Mr. Tanaka. I'm working hard to, are you?" He gestured to a small puddle of water near his table, residue from the previous guest's ice water that housekeeping had missed. "Because it looks like you can't even keep basic standards clean." Anya's heart sank. The water wasn't her responsibility, but she knew better than to argue. "I'll clean that right away, sir." "Yes, you will." Tanaka's smile was cold as winter rain. "But I want to see if you really understand what service means." He pointed to the floor. "Clean it properly. Get down there and show me you care about this job." The dining room fell completely silent. Anya felt her cheeks burn with humiliation as she knelt down, pulling a cloth from her apron. The onyx floor was cold against her knees, and she could feel dozens of eyes watching her every move. But Tanaka wasn't finished. "Lower," he commanded, his voice carrying across the silent room. "Crawl like you mean it. Show me this job matters to you." Anya's hand shook as she lowered herself to her hands and knees. The humiliation was complete. A 34-year-old woman with an MBA, crawling on the floor of a restaurant while Los Angeles' elite watched in stunned silence. She scrubbed the already clean floor, her dignity crumbling with each passing second. An elderly woman at a nearby table stood abruptly, throwing her napkin down in disgust. "This is barbaric," she announced, but Tanaka simply smiled and sipped his espresso. When Anya finally stood, her face burning with shame, Tanaka nodded approvingly. "Now that's what I call dedication. Maybe you'll work out after all." As Anya walked toward the kitchen on unsteady legs, she had no idea that a food blogger at table 14 had recorded everything on her phone, or that Tanaka's cruelty had just sealed his own fate. The most powerful man in the room had made his biggest mistake. Anya barely made it to the employee restroom before the tears came. She locked the door and slid down against the cold tile wall, finally allowing herself to break. The humiliation felt like a physical weight on her chest, making it hard to breathe. How had her life come to this? 6 months ago, she'd been presenting quarterly reports to executives. Now, she was crawling on restaurant floors for the entertainment of cruel men. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How was work today, sweetie? Feeling better about the new job?" Anya stared at the message through blurred vision. Her mother didn't know about the mounting medical bills, or how desperate their financial situation had become. She'd hidden the truth, not wanting to burden the woman who'd sacrificed everything to raise her alone. The chemotherapy was working, but the costs were crushing them both. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Anya, it's Denise." Anya opened the door to find the head waitress holding a steaming cup of tea, her weathered face full of compassion. Denise was 58, a grandmother who'd worked at Aoki's for 12 years. She'd seen it all. "Come here, honey," Denise said, pulling Anya into a motherly embrace. "I saw what happened out there. That man is a monster. I need this job." "Denise," Anya whispered. "My mom's treatments. I can't afford to lose another position." Denise's expression hardened. "No job is worth what he did to you. That wasn't discipline. That was pure cruelty." They sat together in the break room, Denise's weathered hands holding Anya's trembling ones. "I want to tell you something," Denise said quietly. "Tanaka thinks he's untouchable because of his money. But I've been watching him for years. He's got skeletons in his closet, and someday they're going to catch up to him." "What do you mean?" Denise glanced around to ensure they were alone. "There are rumors. Financial irregularities, health department violations he's covered up. Staff members who've disappeared after asking too many questions. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And I think someone's been gathering evidence. Simone Ross from the Metro Chronicle. She's been asking questions about Tanaka's business practices. Apparently, she's been working on a story for months. Denise squeezed Anya's hands. What happened to you today? It might be exactly what she needs. As if summoned by fate, Denise's phone buzzed with a news alert. She read it quickly, then her eyes widened. Anya, look at this. The headline made Anya's heart skip a beat. Anonymous source leaks Tanaka Hospitality Group financial records. Federal investigation pending. Denise's face broke into the first genuine smile Anya had seen all day. Sometimes the universe has a sense of timing, honey. That man thinks he owns this city, but money can't buy you a clean conscience forever. As Anya read the article, she felt something shift inside her chest. The humiliation was still there, but it was being joined by something else, a spark of hope, and maybe something more dangerous. She thought about the blogger who'd been filming at Table 14, about Simone Ross's investigation, and about the way Tanaka's company might not be as solid as it appeared. Tomorrow would be a very different day. Anya arrived at Aoki's the next morning to find chaos. News vans lined the street, and reporters pressed against police barriers, while photographers snapped pictures of the restaurant's elegant facade. Her phone had been ringing since dawn. The video of her humiliation had gone viral overnight, shared thousands of times with hashtags like #JusticeForAnya and #TanakaShame. But that wasn't the only storm brewing. Simone Ross from the Metro Chronicle stood on the sidewalk, microphone in hand, delivering a report that would change everything. Federal investigators raided Tanaka Hospitality Group's headquarters at 6 a.m. this morning, seizing financial records spanning 5 years. Sources confirmed this is connected to allegations of tax evasion, money laundering, and systematic labor violations across Tanaka's $500 million company. Anya pushed through the crowd of reporters, ignoring the cameras that swung toward her. Inside, she found the staff huddled around the television in the break room, watching their world crumble in real time. Denise looked up with tears in her eyes, but they were tears of relief. The FBI found everything, Denise whispered. Bank records, payroll fraud, health inspection bribes. That anonymous tip last month started it all. And your video was the final piece they needed. The restaurant's phone hadn't stopped ringing. Customers were canceling reservations. Corporate partners were severing contracts, and 3 of Tanaka's major investors had already pulled out. By noon, the company's stock value had dropped 60%. Tanaka himself burst through the staff entrance at 1 p.m., his usually perfect appearance disheveled. His eyes were wild as he scanned the room, looking for someone to blame. When his gaze landed on Anya, she saw a man whose world was collapsing. You, he snarled, pointing an accusatory finger. You did this. You called the reporters. Anya stood straighter than she had in months. No, Mr. Tanaka. You did this to yourself. I made you. Without me, you'd be nothing. Just another unemployed nobody crawling for scraps. The irony of his words wasn't lost on anyone present. Denise stepped forward protectively, but Anya held up a gentle hand. She was no longer the frightened woman from yesterday. You're right about one thing, Anya said calmly. I was crawling yesterday. But you know what? Sometimes you have to hit the ground before you remember how to stand up. Tanaka lunged forward, but 2 FBI agents chose that moment to enter the restaurant. Kenji Tanaka, you're under arrest for federal tax evasion, money laundering, and violation of labor standards. As they read him his rights, Tanaka's eyes met Anya's one last time. The man who'd forced her to crawl was now being led away in handcuffs, his company crumbling behind him. The other staff members began to applaud, softly at first, then with growing enthusiasm. Later that afternoon, Anya received a call that would change her life again, but this time for the better. A legal firm representing victims of Tanaka's labor violations wanted to hire her as a consultant, helping other workers who'd suffered similar treatment. Her business degree and first-hand experience made her uniquely qualified to help others find justice. Sometimes the lowest moments in our lives become the foundation for our greatest triumphs. 3 months later, Anya stood in the lobby of Ross and Chen Legal Group, the law firm that had hired her to lead their new workers' rights division. The onyx floors beneath her feet were just as elegant as those at ROK's, but these she walked with her head held high. Her business suits had returned to her wardrobe, but more importantly, her dignity had been restored. The Tanaka Hospitality Group had collapsed completely. Federal investigations revealed a web of corruption spanning 15 years, unpaid overtime, stolen tips, intimidated employees, and millions in tax fraud. Tanaka himself received a 7-year prison sentence, and his personal assets were liquidated to compensate the 847 workers who'd been victimized by his practices. Anya's case had become the centerpiece of a nationwide conversation about workplace dignity and the abuse of power. She testified before Congress about labor reform, appeared on news programs, and helped draft legislation protecting service industry workers from humiliation and exploitation. But perhaps her greatest victory was smaller and more personal. Her mother's medical treatments were now fully covered by her new job's excellent insurance. They'd moved to a sunny apartment with a garden where her mother could tend to the roses she'd always loved. On quiet Sunday mornings, they'd sit together drinking coffee, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of hope. "I'm proud of you, sweetie," her mother had said just last weekend, holding Anya's hand. "Not because of your success, but because you never let that man break your spirit. You turned your pain into purpose." The restaurant where Anya had crawled was now a community center purchased by a non-profit that helped unemployed workers find new careers. Denise worked there part-time, teaching hospitality skills to people starting over, just as Anya once had to do. They'd kept in touch, their friendship forged in that moment when kindness mattered most. Anya often thought about that terrible afternoon when she'd knelt on cold onyx while a cruel man watched. She'd learned that dignity isn't something others can take from you. It's something you choose to keep, even when the world tries to strip it away. Her crawling had become her rising. Her humiliation transformed into empowerment for countless others. Last week, she'd received a letter from a young server in Seattle who'd seen her story. The woman had been suffering similar abuse from her manager but found the courage to report him after watching Anya's interview. "You showed me that nobody has the right to make us small," the letter read. "Thank you for teaching me to stand up." These letters arrived weekly now from workers across the country who'd found their voices through Anya's example. Each one reminded her that sometimes our darkest moments become beacons of light for others navigating their own storms. Standing in her office now, Anya gazed out at the city where her journey had taken such an unexpected turn. She kept a small framed photo on her desk, not of her success, but of that community center that had once been ROK's. It reminded her daily that even the most powerful companies built on cruelty will eventually crumble, while kindness and justice have foundations that last forever. Sometimes the people who try to make us crawl are the ones who end up teaching us how to soar.